What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down why NIO is down over 5% for the day, why on earth we are going to likely see a potential fake out rally where the market gets a small bounce maybe before we get a bigger drop going into FOMC and etc. So I'm going to break down what the data is telling us, why this is very, very possible, what's going on with the news and the earnings, and everything you need to know about NIO's share price. Now, before I break anything down for the markets and do any technical analysis, I have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just one day. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at NIO, this thing's down over 5%. I predicted we would maybe be a little flat for Monday, then by Tuesday we'd get a bit of a sell-off, and the sell-off ended up coming one day earlier than what I predicted. So now I want to make a small adjustment. I still stand by exactly what I said before, because look, today, tomorrow, they don't matter as much. Or by today and tomorrow, I mean today and tomorrow, they don't really matter as much. What matters more would be Wednesday and beyond, when we start to see the FOMC meeting. The market is just preparing for FOMC, and that's why it's very important to be prepared for what's about to come. And I still believe, and I still stand by this, that FOMC is going to lead to more downside for the markets. Now, let me show you some interesting information first. Then I'm going to break down exactly how this could affect NIO. So we have FOMC on February 1st, 2023. This is when Jerome Powell is going to be speaking, and he's going to make some very big announcements. All right, it's going to move the entire market, and I do believe he's going to be hawkish. I also want to note that for tomorrow, we have ExxonMobil, AMD having earnings. This is not going to be as big, in my opinion, compared to like Wednesday and Thursday. On Wednesday, we have Meta. We also have T-Mobile, Peloton. And then Thursday is going to be the huge mega day. We have Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Hershey, Starbucks, Sony, a bunch of huge companies, Ford, all announcing earnings. So that's going to be a big day for Thursday. Now for NIO, I want to talk about the share price. We have had this nice increase in the price pairs ratio, but it's starting to dwindle a little bit right here, and it's going to likely start to kind of reverse from this end. I'm saying this not because NIO is a bad company, but because it's very likely NIO is going to show some more relative weakness. I'm saying this because I think the whole market is going to start coming down, and when the market comes down, NIO's price price ratio tends to drop pretty hard. We know NIO gets hit pretty hard by the shorts. Okay, and I believe this is going to repeat again. I think the market is going to be showing some signs of major downside. Now, NIO is green 55% of the time on Tuesdays, so maybe we kind of rebound a bit first, but I'm going to break that down in just a couple of minutes. The short interest did go up a little bit, so we saw some more shorting. It may actually continue to go up. The volume is pretty average, 54 million, but we did sell off on the volume. And that explains why there's likely going to be another surge in the short volume percentage. I do believe this is going to start going up and up and up as the shorts pile in and selling starts dictating the volume. Now, when it comes to NIO's Twitter, I didn't really see anything recently that came out, and they actually have new articles coming out about the ES8. Once again, a very, very spectacular vehicle. I'm seeing so many people that are very, very bullish on NIO because of their new cars and their amazing specs. They have very long amounts of ranges. So I just want to note to you guys, I'm still very bullish on NIO for the long term. I think NIO is an absolutely incredible company. But for the short term, I do believe there's going to be some pain. I do believe the market is still going to show some signs of downside. So now let's go back to the charts, okay? What the heck is going on? And one of the things I mentioned to everyone was we formed this major divergence right here. We had a very clean looking bearish divergence forming, suggesting lots of downside. As of right now, the market is not really done with this move. We actually sold off to about 400. And once again, I was predicting that this would happen by Tuesday. It happened a little bit earlier than what I expected, but that's completely fine. I did mention it was possible for this to happen today, but that's what I was basically eyeing. Now on SPY, I'm seeing some possibilities. And it's very hard to predict this exactly, but I believe there is a possible head and shoulders that could be forming. Now, what could be happening is we have this very big trend line. See this trend line right here, the one that's slanted? This is the major resistance that basically held SPY down for almost all of 2022, right? Now, I believe, all right, I believe that we could get a retest of it. And instead of being resistance, it might become support. So what I'm thinking now is I don't know exactly how this will play out, because I do think we're going to get a small rebound, right? Either before or maybe even on the day of FOMC before we get a major sell-off afterwards. And my ultimate destination for the markets is downside. But what could happen is we come down to this trend line. We form kind of like a slanted head and shoulders. We come back up just like this, just a little bit. Maybe by tomorrow, maybe going into like the start of Wednesday, the market gets a pop in the very beginning, right? Maybe it's like a fake out rally. This could happen, right? Maybe Jerome Powell's about to start speaking. The market gets that last like pop. We come right up like this, and it's just a fake out. Powell starts speaking. He's very, very hawkish. The market gets aggressive, selling to the downside, and we form once again a slanted head and shoulders. Another way we could form this, it really depends on tomorrow where we actually bounce at. If we don't bounce off the trend line, if we break back into this trend line, we could come all the way down here, bounce up here only, and then continue to sell off. So either way, I am seeing a small bounce maybe coming first before the big sell-off starts. And I do believe, just my honest opinion, I do believe there's going to be a sell-off after FOMC. And we don't have to worry too much about this period. We don't have to worry too much about this, right? From here to here, we don't have to worry way too much. What's more significant and what's more important is what's going to likely happen after FOMC. What's going to happen after, and I believe it's going to be some major downside like this. So that's what I'm like prioritizing. That's what I want everyone to be well aware of. So now for NIO, what does this tell us? I want to note some of the things I said that are coming true. The first thing is, yes, the VIX ended up actually popping. I think my VIX chart is kind of messed up. Give me 1 second. But anyways, on the VIX, we did actually gap up today. And I don't know for sure. There we are. I don't know for sure if we're going to fill this gap first, come all the way down to fill this gap, but that would take us to the mid $18 range. So maybe we get a fake out rally to fill the gap and then this thing bounces. I believe we already like bottomed on the VIX. We have a bullish divergence that still exists, and this thing is likely going to continue to pop. All right, so this is the first divergence on the 1 hour time frame. The daily, right? Once again, another divergence right here. So what I'm seeing is this, okay? Two possibilities. And I'm not saying the VIX is determining how the market will move, but what I am saying is, based off SPY's volatility, two possibilities. Number one is this thing kind of holds and it just keeps flying up, or it comes down one last time to fill the gap and then it flies up. I think those are the two most likely things to happen. As volatility flies up, SPY is likely going to come down. That's why I'm still very cautious. The dollar, it's kind of green. It's now above 101. If this thing keeps popping, because it does have a falling wedge-like formation on the weekly, but it's very slow to really play out. But given these time frames and given these indicators, I do believe this is going to play out, and we are going to see this thing get a nice break to the upside very soon. See these falling wedge-like patterns? They tend to be respected, followed by a breakout. We had it again, a breakout. And I do believe around this 100 to 101 level, it's going to break out, leading to downside in the markets. So for NIO, let's talk about NIO. One of the things I mentioned to everyone was this zone right here. Right here, back in December, we were trading sideways for 3 weeks in this zone. And I told everyone that, look, in this zone, it's a little hard to see and I apologize, but 3.18 to 3.42 is resistance. This is the zone of resistance. And then the zone of support is between 12 and 11.8. So we'd bounce back and forth between these bottom two lines and then these bottom two lines. It's basically that simple, right? These are two major levels. And I told you, if NIO comes down, I'm going to be watching 11.8 to 12. What did NIO do today? I mentioned that last week, by the way. NIO came down. We went to the zone. 11.85 we bounced, and we held 12 today to close the day. Exactly where support was in the previous videos and the previous days. Exactly what I predicted. But the only thing that was different was I thought this would happen more towards like Tuesday, not Monday, but it's okay. It did end up happening. So what am I seeing now? I'm thinking that tomorrow we might get a push down. We might even break below 11.8 temporarily, get a rebound, and the market might try to rebound. I don't know for sure if we're going to get that rebound. That's why I'm not too like focused on tomorrow. I'm more focused on what happens after Wednesday. But we're either okay, there are two possibilities. We either like crash from this point on, or we get a rebound, which I think is a little bit more likely. We try to go for these gap fills. Like SPY has the gap, so does like Apple, a bunch of different stocks. We come to fill these gaps. Maybe NIO gets up to this like 12.7 zone, maybe a little higher. Then that's the final pump, the final push up before the big drop, before this thing really starts to sell off. It's very, very possible. Now, if NIO breaks below 12 and we break below 11.8, then we have the gap down to 11.7, and we could even come lower if that ends up happening. But I'm not too worried about this, whether we do get a rebound or not. Ultimately, the trend looks very bearish. We have lots of gaps in the 11s and the 10s. I mentioned those in previous videos. I believe NIO is going to come down. So let me break this down for you. Let me draw it out just real quick. Tomorrow, here are the two things I'm thinking. We might come down to like this, maybe try to get a bounce. If the market bounces or not, I just don't know for sure, but we might see NIO come a little bit lower to go for this gap fill maybe, and then we try to push. If we get a bounce on like the FOMC day, maybe the market pushes up and then NIO, everyone gets a pop. It's just like a fake pop just to trick everyone, right? It's a trick. NIO comes up like this, and then Jerome Powell starts speaking and we just get destroyed. We get hammered down super, super fast, and we have major sell-off days going into Apple earnings and etc. And NIO comes down like this, right? That could happen. And this is resembling a head and shoulders. You guys can see a left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. That could be what's about to happen. Now, if we don't get the pop, I want to remind you guys that there's no guarantee this comes. There's no guarantee. So we could even come down like this. If we don't rebound all the way, it might just be a small one, and we could just collapse from there, right? That's also very possible. Depends on the market, of course. Once again, we just kind of like sell off like that. I don't know which is gonna happen. I just think that this red line is most likely what's gonna happen. We're gonna get one last rebound and then a big sell off going into after the FOMC meeting, after Jerome Powell talks. The FOMC meeting is not starting immediately when the market opens. Maybe the market will pop if the Fed announces like a 25 basis point hike. Maybe that's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe we get 50. I don't know. And then we still sell off because of Jerome Powell being hawkish, right? Either way, I don't know for sure. I'm just like speculating, but I am leaning towards this red line right here, something like this happening. So, anyways, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please be on the lookout for the market to maybe bounce and maybe get one last fake out rally, either on Tuesday or maybe early on Wednesday before FOMC. And then a big sell off will come, anyways. Once again, like I said, I'm not worried about this. I'm not too worried about this area. Okay? What's ultimately going to happen most likely is this move where we continue to come down like this. All right, see how we're dropping? I believe that's going to happen. That's what I'm more focused on. That's what I believe is most likely going to happen. So be prepared. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Have a great rest of the day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.